What we've seen today, and I will need to go and look at the detail, but it looks like a package that will essentially hit him economically and which will mean that Russia can no longer transact internationally. Now, that means it will lose its liquidity, it will be forced to use up its foreign currency reserves, and ultimately, that is what would lead to a Russian bank collapsing. So I think, with the sanctions, with the efforts with VTB, with the ban on all banks, which I've been calling for, this looks like a really comprehensive economic package, crucially backed up with support of allies.
Right. Now, there was a lot of talk about excluding Russia from the SWIFT banking system, the payment system, which had made it very hard for its banks to operate. That is, I understand it has not been included in this package and has not been agreed because there are allies saying we don't think we can go that far.
Indeed, the message was quite clear from the Prime Minister that he wanted to ban Russia from SWIFT, that perhaps allies weren't behind him. But I think it's important with SWIFT that this is ultimately what people often see as the nuclear button when it comes to Russia and their economic system. But I'm not convinced it is. It's ultimately a messaging system. If we were to disconnect Russia from SWIFT, they would essentially find other ways in which for their banks to communicate with other banks worldwide through cutouts and through other front banks. So whilst it would be useful, actually the most important thing we can do is the sort of bans that we've seen today from the Prime Minister, because that actually cuts out their ability to operate and to balance their books. So actually what we've done is far more effective. It goes after the banks and it's ultimately the jugular.
Can I ask you, Alicia, do you think the West has let Ukraine down at any level? That we have given so much verbal support and we have scuppered as soon as the missiles fly. Do you feel Ukrainians have reason to feel they've been let down by the West?
I think all of us in the world will feel some sort of culpability. However, we have to be very clear. This is the result of the actions of one man and one man alone. And it is quite clear that he was not going to be deterred. And actually, the first missile flew this morning. And this afternoon, you have seen what I now believe to be a comprehensive package from the government hitting oil, gas, sanctions, banks, Belarus, entities, Aeroflot, trade sanctions, domestic reform. And now we also need to lean in on the humanitarian side and make sure we support the resistance. I've spoken to Ukrainian MPs this afternoon. They still believe that the UK has been their number one support throughout all of this, just as they felt that when I was in Ukraine only a few weeks ago.